In a quiet corner of the galaxy, far from the bustling trade routes and glittering hubs of advanced civilizations, humanity had carved out its own small piece of the cosmos. It wasn't much, just a few colonies scattered across nearby star systems, but it was theirs. The humans didn't have the sleek, elegant ships of the Zentari or the towering ancient cities of the Varnok. What they did have was determination, grit, and an unshakable belief that no matter how tough things got, they could find a way to survive. On board the starship Venture, Captain Ryan Mitchell stood on the bridge, staring out at the vast expanse of stars before him. He was a tall man with sharp features and piercing blue eyes that seemed to miss nothing. His crew respected him not because he was perfect, but because he never gave up, even when everything looked hopeless. Beside him sat Lieutenant Olivia Parker, her dark hair tied neatly into a bun, her fingers flying over the controls as she monitored the ship's sensors. She was calm under pressure, the kind of person you wanted beside you when things went wrong. The Venture wasn't a fancy vessel like some of the ones seen in the core systems. It was sturdy, reliable, and built for long journeys through less traveled parts of space. Its mission today was simple: explore an uncharted nebula and gather data. The nebula was beautiful, glowing faintly with hues of purple and green, swirling like a cosmic storm frozen in time. But beauty often hid danger, and Ryan knew better than to let his guard down. "Anything unusual yet?" Ryan asked, glancing at Olivia. She shook her head. "Nothing so far, just gas clouds and radiation readings. Nothing we haven't seen before." Ryan nodded. "Keep scanning. You never know what might be hiding out there." Down in engineering, Chief Engineer Sam Dawson was busy running diagnostics on the engines. Sam was a big guy with a scruffy beard and a perpetual streak of grease on his cheek. He loved tinkering with machines almost as much as he loved complaining about them. Right now, though, he was focused, checking every system to make sure the ship was ready for whatever lay ahead. "Everything good down here, Sam?" came a voice over the intercom. It was Elena Ruiz, the ship's communications officer. Elena was soft-spoken but incredibly sharp, able to pick up signals others would miss entirely. Her job was to listen, to hear the whispers of the universe, and translate them into something useful. "All systems green," Sam replied. "If this bucket of bolts breaks down, I'll fix it faster than you can say warp drive." Elena chuckled. "Let's hope it doesn't come to that." For hours, the crew worked silently, each person absorbed in their tasks. The only sounds were the hum of the engines and the occasional beep from the consoles. Then, without warning, the silence was shattered. "Captain," Olivia called out sharply, "we've got something incoming." Ryan turned quickly, his expression hardening. "What is it?" "It's a ship," Olivia said, her voice tense. "Big, fast, and it's coming straight for us." The crew sprang into action. Sam rushed to reinforce the shields while Elena tried to establish contact. On the view screen, a massive alien vessel emerged from the nebula, its sleek design radiating menace. It was unlike anything they'd ever seen, a predator among ships bristling with weapons and glowing ominously with energy. "This is the Crithian battlecruiser Vengeance," a cold, mechanical voice boomed over the comms. "You are trespassing in Crithian territory. Surrender immediately or face destruction." The crew exchanged nervous glances. The Crithians were infamous throughout the galaxy. They were conquerors, enslavers, and destroyers. No one crossed them and lived to tell the tale. Ryan clenched his fist but kept his voice steady. "This area isn't marked on any galactic charts. We didn't realize it belonged to anyone." "Your ignorance does not excuse your presence," the Crithian replied. "Surrender now." Ryan glanced at Olivia, who shook her head slightly. There was no negotiating with these beings. They were too arrogant, too convinced of their superiority. But surrender wasn't an option either. "Not for humans. We're not going down without a fight," Ryan muttered under his breath. Aloud, he said, "We mean no harm. We're leaving." Before the Crithians could respond, Ryan gave the order to move. The Venture pivoted sharply, its engines roaring to life as it sped toward the heart of the nebula. Behind them, the Crithian ship gave chase, firing plasma bolts that sizzled past the Venture's hull. Shields holding? Ryan asked. For now, Sam replied, his voice strained. But those shots pack a punch. We can't take many more. Ryan thought fast. The nebula was their only chance. It was dense, chaotic, and unpredictable. If they could use it to their advantage, maybe they could lose their pursuers or even turn the tables. Elena, see if you can jam their sensors, Ryan ordered. Olivia, plot a course deeper into the nebula. Use the gas clouds to mask our movements. Aye, sir, both women responded simultaneously. As the venture dove into the swirling mists, visibility dropped dramatically. The Crithians fired, blindly their shots lighting up the darkness like fireworks. Inside the ship, alarms blared and sparks flew from overloaded circuits, but the crew held steady. Got it, Elena exclaimed. Their sensors are scrambled. They won't be able to track us easily. Good work, Ryan said. Now let's set a trap. He gathered the senior staff in the briefing room, where they hatched a desperate plan. Using spare parts and ingenuity, Sam rigged together decoy drones designed to mimic the venture's signature. Meanwhile, Olivia identified a particularly volatile section of the nebula filled with unstable gases. If triggered correctly, it could create a massive explosion. Here's the plan, Ryan explained. We send the drones into that gas cloud, lure the Crithians in after them, and then detonate the cloud remotely. With any luck, we'll take out most of their fleet. It was risky, but it was their best shot. The crew moved with precision, setting everything up as quickly as possible. When the moment came, Ryan gave the order and the drones launched, drawing the Crithians straight into the trap. Detonate on my mark, Ryan said, watching the view screen intently. As the enemy ships entered the gas cloud, he raised his hand. 3, 2, 1, now! A brilliant flash lit up the nebula as the gas ignited, engulfing the Crithian vessels in a fiery inferno. The shockwave rocked the third-rate venture, nearly knocking everyone off their feet, but when the smoke cleared, the Crithian fleet was in ruins. The bridge erupted in cheers, but Ryan remained stoic. This victory was just the beginning. Word would spread about what the humans had done, and the Crithians wouldn't forget. End of part 1. The victory in the nebula was a shock, not just to the Crithians but to the entire galaxy. News of the venture's daring escape and clever counterattacks spread like wildfire. Across star systems, species who had once dismissed humanity as weak or insignificant began to take notice. The humans weren't supposed to win that day. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and facing one of the most feared races in the galaxy. Yet somehow they had turned the tables. Captain Ryan Mitchell stood on the bridge of the venture, staring at the view screen. The wreckage of the Crithian fleet was still visible in the distance, drifting silently amid the glowing gases of the nebula. It was a grim sight, but Ryan felt no joy, only relief. His crew had survived, and that was enough for now. Damage report? He asked, turning to Chief Engineer Sam Dawson. Sam wiped sweat from his forehead with the back of his hand. Shields are down to 10%, and we've got some hull breaches in the lower decks, but nothing critical. We'll live. Ryan nodded. Good work, everyone. Let's get this ship patched up and head home. As the crew worked tirelessly to repair the venture, Lieutenant Olivia Parker monitored communications. She had been scanning for any sign of additional Crithian ships, but so far there was only silence. That worried her. The Crithians weren't the kind to let an insult like this slide. They would retaliate, and when they did, it wouldn't be with just one ship. We need to warn Earth, Olivia said, approaching Ryan. If the Crithians come back, they'll bring everything they've got. Ryan sighed. He knew she was right. Send a message to UNG Command. Tell them what happened here and recommend increased patrols along the border. And make sure they know we're heading back to dock for repairs. Aye, sir, Olivia replied. Back on Earth, the United Nations Galactic Council, UNG, convened in an emergency session. The council chamber was packed with diplomats, military leaders, and scientists, all discussing the implications of the venture's encounter. Some argued that humanity should prepare for war, while others urged caution, fearing retaliation from the Crithians. At the center of the debate was Dr. Emily Carter, a xenobiologist who specialized in studying hostile alien species. Emily was a petite woman with short blonde hair and sharp green eyes. She had spent years analyzing the behavior of aggressive races like the Crithians, and she understood their mindset better than most. "These creatures don't see us as equals," Emily explained during her presentation. "To them, we're pests, annoying little bugs buzzing around their territory. But pests can become predators if you underestimate them." She pointed to a holographic display showing images of the Crithian fleet. "Their society is built on dominance. They respect strength above all else. When we defeated their ships in the nebula, we didn't just embarrass them, we humiliated them. And humiliation breeds rage." The room fell silent as her words sank in. Humanity had struck a blow against the Crithians, but it came at a cost. Now the galaxy was watching. Other species wanted to see how humanity would respond to the inevitable backlash. Meanwhile, ordinary people reacted differently. Social media. Platforms like Reddit erupted with posts praising the Venture's crew. Memes and fan art flooded the feeds, celebrating Captain Ryan Mitchell and his team as heroes. One viral thread titled, "Why Humanity is the Galaxy's Most Fearsome Combatant" species gained millions of views overnight. "No other species fights like we do," one user wrote. "We adapt, we improvise, we survive." But not everyone was cheering. In the shadows of the galaxy, the Crithians seethed with anger. Their leader, Supreme Commander Vrax, paced furiously in his war room. Vrax was a towering figure with metallic skin and glowing red eyes. To him, the loss in the nebula was unforgivable, a stain on the honor of his people. "The humans must be eradicated," Vrax growled, slamming his fist onto the table. "Not just their ships, but their colonies, their homeworld, every last one of them." His advisors nodded nervously. "It will take time to gather our forces," one of them said. "But when we strike, it will be decisive," Vrax sneered. "Time is irrelevant. What matters is that the humans learn their place, or die trying." As weeks passed, tensions between humanity and the Crithians escalated. Patrols near the border reported increased activity, and rumors spread of a massive armada being assembled. Fear gripped the colonies, and many civilians fled to safer regions. The UNG scrambled to bolster defenses, but resources were limited. Humanity's fleet was small compared to the vast armies of the Crithians. On board the Venture, the crew prepared for the worst. After docking at a space station for repairs, they received upgraded weapons and reinforcements. Morale was high, but there was an underlying sense of dread. Everyone knew the next battle wouldn't be as easy as the first. "We can't rely on tricks forever," Ryan said during a briefing. "Sooner or later we'll have to face them head on." Olivia nodded. "And when that happens, we'll need allies." Ryan agreed. "Reach out to the Zentari and the Varnok. Remind them what's at stake if the Crithians win. Maybe they'll lend us a hand." Elena took charge of diplomatic efforts, sending messages to neighboring species. Some responded positively, offering support or intelligence. Others remained neutral, unwilling to risk angering the Crithians. But even those who stayed silent couldn't deny the growing threat. During this time, Ryan met with Dr. Emily Carter, who had been invited aboard the Venture to consult on strategy. Her expertise proved invaluable, especially when it came to understanding the Crithians' psychology. "They're arrogant," Emily told Ryan. "They believe they're invincible because no one has ever challenged them successfully. Use that against them. Make them doubt themselves." Ryan smiled faintly. "Sounds like good advice." Emily leaned forward, her expression serious. "Just remember, one mistake could cost us everything. Don't underestimate them." The waiting game wore on, but eventually the Crithians made their move. A scout ship detected their armada approaching the outer colonies. Dozens of ships, each larger than the one the Venture had faced before, descended upon a human settlement. The colony fought valiantly, using makeshift defenses and guerrilla tactics, but it wasn't enough. Within hours, the settlement was overrun. News of the attack reached the Venture as they patrolled nearby. Ryan clenched his fists, anger boiling inside him. "We can't let them keep doing this," he said. "It's time to hit back." He gathered his senior staff and laid out a bold plan. Instead of defending the colonies directly, they would strike at the heart of the Krithian invasion force. Using data provided by the Zentari, they identified a key supply depot deep within enemy-controlled space. If they could destroy it, they would cripple the Krithians' ability to wage war. "It's risky," Sam warned. "Their defenses will be tight." "I know," Ryan replied, "but risks are what got us this far. Are you with me?" One by one, the crew nodded. They had faced impossible odds before and come out on top. This time would be no different. Under cover of darkness, the Venture slipped past Krithian patrols and approached the supply depot. The facility was heavily guarded, but thanks to Elena's skillful jamming of enemy sensors, they managed to sneak, close undetected. As the final phase of the mission began, Ryan gave the order to fire. Explosions lit up the night as missiles launched from the Venture struck the depot's fuel reserves. Flames engulfed the facility, sending shockwaves rippling through the surrounding area. The Krithians scrambled to respond, but it was too late. By the time their reinforcements arrived, the depot was in ruins. The Venture escaped into hyperspace, leaving chaos in its wake. Back on Earth, the successful raid boosted morale. People cheered in the streets, hailing the crew as saviors. Even the UNG couldn't ignore the impact of their actions. For the first time, humanity was seen not as prey, but as a predator. But Ryan knew the fight was far from over. The Krithians would regroup, stronger and angrier than ever. Humanity had proven it could fight, but now it had to prove it could endure. The destruction of the Krithian supply depot sent shockwaves through the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, the Krithians had been dealt a significant blow by a species they considered inferior. The news spread quickly, igniting hope among oppressed civilizations and fear among those who relied on the Krithians for protection. Humanity, once dismissed as weak and insignificant, was now seen as a rising threat, a force to be reckoned with. On board the Venture, Captain Ryan Mitchell watched the reactions unfold on the ship's monitors. Social media feeds were flooded with messages of support, memes celebrating humanity's ingenuity, and calls for unity against the Krithians. But amid the cheers, there were also warnings. Analysts speculated that the Krithians wouldn't stop until humanity was wiped out. Others pointed out that Earth's colonies were still vulnerable, scattered across the stars like islands in a vast ocean. "We've made them angry," Ryan muttered to himself, leaning back in his chair. "Now we have to figure out how to survive." Lieutenant Olivia Parker stood nearby, reviewing reports from other sectors. "The Krithians are mobilizing again," she said. "Their fleet is growing bigger by the day. If we don't act soon, they'll overwhelm us." Ryan nodded grimly. "We can't fight them alone. We need help from anyone willing to stand with us." Back on Earth, the United Nations Galactic Council, UNG, convened another emergency session. The council chamber buzzed with tension as representatives debated humanity's next move. Some argued for diplomacy, urging leaders to negotiate peace before it was too late. Others called for all-out war, believing that only total victory would ensure humanity's survival. Dr. Emily Carter addressed the council once more, her voice calm but firm. "The Krithians won't stop until they feel their dominance is secure. They see humanity as an existential threat because we refuse to bow to them. Negotiations won't work. They'll see it as weakness." Her words resonated with many in the room. The UNG authorized increased military funding and called for volunteers from allied species to join the fight. Messages were sent to neighboring civilizations appealing for support. Some responded positively, sending ships and supplies. Others remained silent, unwilling to risk angering the Krithians. Meanwhile, ordinary people took matters into their own hands. Across the colonies, small militias formed, led by local leaders determined to protect their homes. Among them was Colonel Jack Harper, a grizzled veteran who had fought in countless skirmishes along the border. Jack was a tall, broad-shouldered man with a deep scar running down his left cheek. He didn't mince words or sugarcoat the truth. The Crithians think they can roll over us, Jack told his recruits during a training session. But they're wrong. We may not have their fancy ships or advanced weapons, but we've got something better, heart, and that's something they'll never understand. Under Jack's leadership, the resistance fighters honed their skills, learning to use whatever tools they had at their disposal. Farmers turned plow blades into makeshift armor. Mechanics repurposed civilian vehicles into combat-ready transports. Even children contributed, acting as scouts and messengers. In another colony, Commander Maria Lopez organized a network of spies and saboteurs. Maria was a wiry woman with sharp features and an even sharper mind. She had spent years working undercover, in hostile territories, gathering intelligence and planning covert operations. Now she put her experience to good use, teaching her team how to infiltrate enemy lines and disrupt Crithian supply chains. We can't match them head-on, Maria explained during a briefing. But we don't have to. Hit them where it hurts. Cut off their resources, sabotage their equipment, and make them doubt every step they take. Her strategy proved effective. In one daring raid, Maria's team hijacked a Crithian transport ship carrying vital supplies. Disguised as maintenance workers, they slipped aboard undetected and took control of the vessel without firing a single shot. Once inside, they rerouted the cargo to a hidden base, providing much-needed ammunition and food to the resistance. As the conflict escalated, the UNG launched its own covert operations. One such mission involved infiltrating a Crithian research facility located on a remote moon. Intelligence suggested that the facility housed critical data about the Crithians' military capabilities, including weaknesses in their armor plating. Leading the operation was Lieutenant Olivia Parker, who volunteered despite the immense risks. Accompanied by a small team of elite soldiers, Olivia traveled to the moon under the cover of darkness. Using stolen codes provided by Maria's network, they bypassed the facility's defenses and gained access to its central database. Inside, the air was thick with tension. Olivia moved silently through the corridors, her weapon drawn and ready. Her team split up to cover more ground, downloading files and planting explosives to destroy the facility after they escaped. Got it, Olivia whispered triumphantly as she copied the final batch of data onto a portable drive. Let's move. But just as they prepared to leave, alarms blared throughout the compound. The Crithians had discovered the breach. Heavy footsteps echoed in the distance as guards closed in. Go, Olivia shouted, tossing a smoke grenade to obscure their retreat. The team sprinted toward the exit, dodging laser fire and leaping over fallen debris. Outside, their shuttle awaited, engines roaring to life as they climbed aboard. Moments later, the facility erupted in a fiery explosion, obliterating everything inside. As the shuttle sped away, Olivia reviewed the stolen data. It revealed a flaw in the Crithians' armor, an alloy susceptible to high-frequency vibrations. With this knowledge, humanity could develop weapons capable of piercing their defenses. When Olivia returned to the venture, she presented her findings to Captain Ryan Mitchell. His eyes widened as he realized the implications. This changes everything, Ryan said. If we can exploit this weakness, we might stand a chance. Sam Dawson immediately set to work modifying the ship's weapon systems, incorporating the new technology. Meanwhile, Elena Ruiz broadcasted the discovery to Allied forces, ensuring that everyone fighting against the Crithians had access to the information. The resistance movement continued to grow, fueled by stories of heroism and sacrifice. In one colony, civilians banded together to defend their town when a Crithian patrol descended upon them. Armed with nothing more than farming tools and sheer determination, they managed to hold off the invaders long enough for reinforcements to arrive. On Reddit, a user posted a thread titled "Why Humanity Fights." It quickly gained traction, with thousands of replies pouring in from across the galaxy. Because we adapt, one comment read. No matter what they throw at us, we find a way to overcome it. Because we care, another added. We fight not just for ourselves, but for each other. The thread became a rallying cry, inspiring people to keep pushing forward despite the odds. Even species who had previously looked down on humanity began to see them in a new light, not as pests, but as resilient survivors. Supreme Commander Vrax watched these developments with mounting frustration. To him, humanity's defiance was incomprehensible. How could such a primitive species continue to resist? Every attempt to crush them only seemed to strengthen their resolve. "They are weeds," Vrax snarled during a meeting with his advisors. "We must burn them out completely. No mercy." His advisors nodded nervously, knowing full well what failure meant for those who displeased him. Plans were drawn up for a massive assault on Earth itself, the heart of humanity's empire. If they could destroy the homeworld, the rest would fall like dominoes. Unaware of the impending attack, humanity pressed on, preparing for the battles ahead. Factories churned out weapons and supplies around the clock. Colonies fortified their defenses, turning settlements into bunkers. And on board the Venture, the crew trained tirelessly, knowing that the next encounter with the Crithians would decide the fate of their species. Ryan gathered his senior staff for one final briefing before heading into battle. "This isn't just about us anymore," he said. "It's about proving to the galaxy that humanity won't back down. No matter what happens, we fight. Together." One by one, the crew nodded. They had faced impossible odds before and come out on top. This time would be no different. As the Venture set course for the front lines, the galaxy held its breath. Humanity had shown the universe what it was capable of. Now, it was time to show them why they should never underestimate it again. The galaxy braced itself for the inevitable clash between humanity and the Crithians. The tension was palpable, like the calm before a storm. On one side stood the Crithians, their massive armada stretching across the stars, bristling with weapons designed to obliterate anything in their path. On the other side was humanity, a patchwork of colonies, militias, and scattered fleets united by sheer determination. It wasn't just a fight for survival, it was a test of wills. Captain Ryan Mitchell paced the bridge of the Venture, his mind racing with strategies and scenarios. He knew the odds were stacked against them. The Crithian fleet outnumbered humanity's forces 10-1, and their technology was far more advanced. But Ryan had learned something over the years. Numbers and firepower didn't always decide the outcome of a battle. Creativity, courage, and teamwork could turn the tide when all seemed lost. "Are we ready?" Ryan asked, glancing at his crew. "Chief." Engineer Sam Dawson wiped grease from his hands and nodded. "Weapons are upgraded, shields are reinforced, and engines are running smoother than ever. This old girl is as ready as she'll ever be." Lieutenant Olivia Parker double-checked the tactical display. "We've got intel on their formations and weak points thanks to the data you brought back, sir. If we can exploit those vulnerabilities, we might stand a chance." Elena Ruiz adjusted her headset, listening intently to communications chatter. "Allied forces are moving into position. Everyone's waiting for your signal." Ryan took a deep breath. "Then let's not keep them waiting." The battlefield was set in the Arcturus system, a remote star cluster chosen because of its strategic importance. The Crithians had established a forward operating base there, using it as a staging ground for their invasion of Earth. Humanity's plan was simple, yet audacious. Launch a surprise attack, cripple the base, and scatter the enemy fleet before they could regroup. As the human ships approached, Supreme Commander Vrax watched from the command deck of his flagship, the Vengeance. His glowing red eyes narrowed as he studied the incoming vessels. They were small, fragile-looking things, compared to his mighty cruisers. To him, this was nothing more than a desperate last stand, a futile gesture that would end in annihilation. "Destroy them," Vrax ordered coldly. "Leave no survivors." The Crithian fleet surged forward, firing volleys of plasma bolts that lit up the void like fireworks. The human ships scattered, dodging the deadly barrage while returning fire with precision. Thanks to the modifications made by Sam and the intelligence gathered by Olivia, their weapons struck true, targeting the weak points in the Crithian armor. Explosions rocked the Crithian formation as several ships went down in flames. Cheers erupted among the human crews, but Ryan kept his focus. This was only the beginning. "Execute Phase 2, he commanded. Phase 2 involved splitting the human fleet into two groups. One group, led by Colonel Jack Harper's militia, would flank the Crithians from behind, drawing their attention away from the main assault force. The second group, including the Venture, would push straight toward the base, aiming to disable its defenses. Jack's team performed brilliantly, weaving through asteroid fields and debris clouds to strike at the Crithians' rear guard. Their guerrilla tactics infuriated the enemy, forcing them to divert resources to deal with the unexpected threat. Meanwhile, Ryan's group closed in on the base, enduring heavy fire, but holding steady. "Shields are holding, but barely," Sam shouted as another blast shook the ship. "Keep pushing," Ryan replied. "We're almost there." Olivia guided the Venture into position, targeting the base's shield generators. With a well-placed volley, the generators exploded, leaving the facility exposed. Elena quickly relayed the news to Allied bombers who swooped in to deliver the finishing blow. The base erupted in a blinding flash, sending shockwaves rippling through the battlefield. The loss of their stronghold threw the Crithians into disarray. Ships broke formation, commanders barked conflicting orders, and panic began to spread. "This is our chance," Ryan said. "Hit them hard." Human ships unleashed everything they had, focusing on key targets within the Crithian fleet. Fighters darted between larger vessels, disabling engines and weapon systems. Bombers launched torpedoes that tore through hulls, igniting secondary explosions. Even the resistance fighters on the ground joined the fray, sabotaging supply lines and cutting off reinforcements. Commander Maria Lopez's network of spies played a crucial role during the chaos. Her operatives infiltrated Crithian communication, hubs feeding false information to their commanders. Entire squadrons were sent chasing ghosts, wasting time and resources while the real battle raged elsewhere. Supreme Commander Vrax watched the carnage unfold, his expression unreadable. For the first time in centuries, doubt crept into his mind. How could these humans, these insignificant pests, keep outmaneuvering his forces? Every tactic he employed seemed to backfire. Every advantage turned against him. "Retreat," Vrax growled finally, his voice laced with fury. "Regroup and prepare for a counterattack." The order stunned his subordinates, but they obeyed without question. Slowly, the remnants of the Crithian fleet withdrew, limping back toward their homeworld. The humans didn't pursue. They had done enough damage for one day. Back on Earth, celebrations erupted as news of the victory reached home. Streets filled with cheering crowds, waving flags and chanting slogans. Social media platforms buzzed with messages of gratitude and admiration for the brave men and women who had fought so valiantly. Even detractors of humanity's expansionist policies found themselves caught up in the wave of pride sweeping the planet. On Reddit, a thread titled, "Why Humanity is the Galaxy's Most Fearsome Combatant Species," gained millions of views overnight. Users shared stories of heroism and sacrifice, highlighting moments where ordinary people had risen to extraordinary challenges. "They don't give up," one commenter wrote. "No matter what happens, they find a way to win." Another added, "It's not about having the best tech or the biggest army, it's about heart, and humanity has plenty of that." Dr. Emily Carter watched the reactions with a mixture of awe and concern. She knew the war was far from over. The Crithians wouldn't rest until they had exacted revenge. But for now, humanity had proven itself capable of standing toe-to-toe with the galaxy's most feared species. On board the Venture, the mood was subdued despite the victory. The crew tended to their wounded, repaired, damaged systems, and mourned the lives lost in the battle. Ryan stood on the observation deck staring out at the stars. Olivia joined him after a while, offering a quiet smile. "We did good today," she said softly. Ryan nodded. "Yeah, we did. But it's not over. Not by a long shot." Olivia placed a hand on his shoulder. "We'll get through this. Together." He looked at her, seeing the same determination in her eyes that burned within him. Humanity had faced countless challenges throughout history and overcome them all. This was no different. As long as they refused to surrender, they would continue to inspire others and defy expectations. Out in the galaxy, whispers began to spread. Other species, once fearful of the Crithians, started to see humanity in a new light. Some even offered their support, pledging troops and resources to the cause. Humanity wasn't just fighting for itself anymore. It was fighting for everyone who had ever been oppressed by the Crithians. And somewhere deep in space, Supreme Commander Vrax plotted his next move. His humiliation burned like a fire in his chest, driving him to seek vengeance at any cost. Humanity had earned his hatred, and he would stop at nothing to destroy them. But for now, humanity had won a crucial victory. Against all odds, they had shown the galaxy what it meant to truly fight, not with brute strength but with resilience, ingenuity, and an unbreakable spirit. The victory at the Arcturus system was a turning point in the war, but it came at a cost. The human fleet had suffered heavy losses, ships destroyed, lives lost, and resources depleted. Yet despite the toll, the battle had proven something crucial. Humanity could stand up to the Crithians. Word of the triumph spread across the galaxy, inspiring hope among oppressed species and fear among those who supported the Crithians. On board the Venture, Captain Ryan Mitchell surveyed the damage. Scorch marks scarred the hull, and parts of the ship were held together with makeshift repairs. Sam Dawson worked tirelessly in engineering, patching leaks and rerouting power to keep the ship operational. Elena Ruiz monitored communications, listening for any sign of the Crithians regrouping. Olivia Parker studied tactical maps, planning for the next phase of the conflict. "We've bought ourselves some time," Ryan said during a briefing, "but Vrax isn't going to sit back and lick his wounds. He'll come after us harder than ever." Olivia nodded. "We need to prepare for a counterattack, and we need allies if we're going to hold them off." Ryan agreed. "Reach out to everyone willing to help. We can't do this alone." In the weeks that followed, humanity's coalition grew stronger. Species once too afraid to oppose the Crithians began stepping forward, offering ships, soldiers, and supplies. The Zentari sent sleek fighters capable of evading enemy fire. The Varnok contributed massive dreadnoughts armed with devastating cannons. Even smaller, less powerful civilizations joined the cause, determined to see the Crithians fall. Colonel Jack Harper's resistance fighters became a symbol of defiance. Operating in the shadows, they struck at Crithian supply lines, destroying convoys and raiding outposts. Their hit-and-run tactics kept the enemy off balance, forcing them to divert troops to protect their rear guard. In one daring operation, Jack's team ambushed a Crithian weapons factory, sabotaging production and setting back the enemy's efforts by months. Commander Maria Lopez continued her work behind enemy lines, gathering intelligence and sowing chaos. Her network of spies infiltrated key Crithian installations, stealing data and feeding false information to their commanders. Thanks to her efforts, several Crithian fleets wandered into ambushes or attacked empty sectors, wasting precious time and resources. Meanwhile, Dr. Emily Carter worked closely with Earth scientists to develop new technologies based on the weaknesses discovered in the Crithian armor. Using high-frequency vibrations, engineers created specialized weapons capable of piercing even the toughest defenses. These innovations gave humanity a fighting chance against their technologically superior foes. As preparations continued, Supreme Commander Vrax plotted his revenge. Back on the Crithian homeworld, he convened a council of war, rallying his top commanders to devise a strategy that would crush humanity once and for all. To Vrax, the humans represented everything he despised: weakness, unpredictability, and defiance. They refused to bow to his authority, and that insult could not go unpunished. "They are vermin," Vrax growled, slamming his fist onto the table, "and vermin must be exterminated." His advisors presented him with a plan: assemble the largest fleet the galaxy had ever seen and launch a simultaneous assault on multiple fronts. By targeting Earth and its colonies simultaneously, they would overwhelm humanity's defenses and leave them unable to respond effectively. Vrax approved the plan immediately. "Make it so. I want every ship, every soldier, every weapon focused on this mission. Humanity will learn what true power looks like." The Crithian armada gathered near the edge of known space, a monstrous force stretching across the stars. Thousands of ships bristled with weapons, their crews eager to exact revenge. Intelligence reports reached humanity's leaders, warning of the impending attack. Panic gripped some colonies, but others remained resolute, preparing for the fight of their lives. Ryan and the crew of the Venture were stationed at Earth's orbital defense grid, a ring of satellites and fortifications designed to protect the planet from invasion. It was a formidable barrier, but Ryan knew it wouldn't be enough to stop the Crithians. They needed something more, a way to break the enemy's momentum before they reached Earth. "We've got one shot at this," Ryan said during a strategy meeting. "If we can hit them early, disrupt their formation, maybe we can buy Earth enough time to mount a proper defense." Olivia proposed a bold idea. Use decoy signals to lure part of the Crithian fleet into a trap. By broadcasting fake transmissions, they could convince the enemy that a major human force was waiting in an isolated sector. When the Crithians arrived, they would find nothing but mines and automated drones programmed to attack. "It's risky," Ryan admitted, "but it might just work." Sam and Elena worked around the clock to set up the trap, deploying drones and planting mines in the designated area. Meanwhile, Maria's spies spread misinformation among the Crithians, ensuring they believed the decoy transmissions were genuine. When the Crithian fleet entered the trap, chaos erupted. Mines detonated, sending shockwaves through their ranks. Drones swarmed the unsuspecting ships, disabling engines and targeting weak points in their armor. Confusion reigned as commanders struggled to regain control, unaware that they had fallen for a ruse. Back at Earth, the orbital defense grid sprang to life as the main Crithian force approached. Laser turrets opened fire, filling the sky with streaks of light. Fighters darted between the enemy ships, launching torpedoes and strafing runs. The battle was fierce, but humanity's defenders held their ground. Jack Harper led a daring assault on the Crithian flagship, leading a squadron of rebel fighters straight into the heart of the enemy fleet. His goal was simple: take out Vrax. If they could kill the Supreme Commander, the Crithians would lose their leader, and possibly their will to fight. Dodging plasma bolts and evading enemy fighters, Jack's squadron closed in on the Vengeance. Explosions rocked the flagship as bombs tore through its hull. Inside, Vrax watched the destruction unfold, his rage boiling over. "Destroy them," he roared, ordering his crew to focus all firepower on the attackers. But Jack was relentless. With precise maneuvers, he guided his fighter through the hail of fire, launching a final volley of missiles directly at the bridge. The impact shook the entire ship, throwing Vrax to the floor. For a moment, silence fell. Then alarms blared as systems failed and lights flickered. The flagship listed dangerously, its engines sputtering. Vrax staggered to his feet, blood dripping from a wound on his head. His eyes burned with fury as he realized the truth. Humanity had struck a fatal blow. "You may have won this day," Vrax snarled, clutching the edge of a console for support. "But you will never defeat us completely." With that, the flagship exploded in a brilliant flash, taking Vrax and much of his crew with it. The loss of their leader threw the Crithian fleet into disarray. Ships broke formation, retreating in confusion as humanity pressed its advantage. When the dust settled, the galaxy bore witness to humanity's resilience. The Crithians had been humbled, their pride shattered. Other species celebrated the victory, seeing it as a chance to rise up against tyranny. Social media platforms buzzed with messages of gratitude and admiration for humanity's courage. On Reddit, a user posted a thread titled, "Why Humanity Fights." It quickly gained traction, with thousands of replies pouring in from across the galaxy. "Because we refuse to give up," one comment read. "No matter how bad things get, we find a way to keep going. Because we fight for each other," another added. "Not just for ourselves, but for everyone who believes in freedom." Ryan stood on the observation deck of the Venture, watching, the stars twinkle in the distance. Beside him, Olivia smiled faintly. "We did it," she said softly. "We actually did it." Ryan nodded, but his expression remained serious. "For now. But there will always be new challenges, new enemies. This is just the beginning." Olivia placed a hand on his shoulder. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together. As the galaxy celebrated humanity's triumph, whispers of hope spread far and wide. Humanity had proven itself not just as survivors, but as warriors willing to stand against oppression. And somewhere out there, among the stars, others began to dream of a brighter future, one where no species ruled through fear. But Ryan knew better than to let his guard down. The Crithians weren't gone forever, and the galaxy was vast. There were still battles to fight, still lessons to learn. For now, though, humanity had earned a moment of peace, and that was enough. The galaxy was quiet for a time, a fragile calm after the storm. The Crithians had been pushed back, their leader dead, and their fleet scattered. Humanity's victory at Earth's orbital defense grid marked the end of an era, but it also signaled the beginning of something new. For the first time in centuries, oppressed species dared to dream of freedom. And humanity, once dismissed as weak and insignificant, stood tall as a beacon of hope. Captain Ryan Mitchell walked through the corridors of the Venture, his boots echoing softly against the metal floor. The ship was battered but still operational, patched together with determination and ingenuity. Its crew had endured unimaginable hardships, yet they remained steadfast, ready to face whatever came next. Ryan paused outside the observation deck, staring out at the stars. They seemed brighter now, as if reflecting the newfound optimism spreading across the galaxy. Inside the briefing room, Lieutenant Olivia Parker reviewed reports from Allied forces. The coalition that had formed during the war continued to grow, stronger, united by a shared vision of peace and cooperation. Species who had once feared humanity now saw them as partners, willing to stand shoulder to shoulder in the fight for justice. Even the Zentari and Varnock, ancient rivals themselves, set aside their differences to rebuild what the Crithians had destroyed. "We've made progress," Olivia said, turning to Ryan. "But there's still so much work to do." Ryan nodded. "The Crithians aren't gone completely. Some of their ships are still out there, hiding in the shadows. And even if we never see them again, there will always be others like them. Species who think strength is measured by how many they can dominate." Olivia leaned forward, her expression thoughtful. "Then we'll keep proving them wrong. Every time someone underestimates us, we'll show them what humanity is capable of." In the weeks that followed, humanity focused on rebuilding. Colonies ravaged by the Crithians began to recover, thanks to aid from allies and supplies transported by volunteer fleets. Engineers worked tirelessly to repair damaged infrastructure, while scientists collaborated with xenobiologists like Dr. Emily Carter to develop technologies that could prevent future wars. Earth itself became a hub of activity, hosting delegations from across the galaxy eager to learn from humanity's example. Dr. Carter addressed a gathering of diplomats and researchers, her voice steady but passionate. "What sets humanity apart isn't just their ability to adapt, it's their refusal to give up. No matter how dire the situation, they find a way to survive, to thrive. That spirit is contagious, and it's changing the galaxy." Her words resonated deeply. Other species began adopting human strategies, blending creativity with resilience to solve problems they had long considered insurmountable. Trade routes reopened, cultural exchanges flourished, and for the first time in generations, the galaxy felt connected, not by fear but by hope. But not everyone celebrated. In the ruins of the Crithian Empire, remnants of their leadership plotted revenge. Without Vrax to unite them, factions splintered, each vying for control. Some argued for retreating into isolation, licking their wounds until they could rebuild. Others called for renewed aggression, determined to restore their dominance no matter the cost. Among these factions was Commander Trelk, a ruthless Crithian officer who viewed humanity's rise as a personal affront. To him, the loss of the war wasn't just a failure, it was an insult. He vowed to reclaim his people's honor, even if it meant sacrificing everything. "Humanity must be erased," Trelk declared during a secret meeting with his followers. "Not just their ships or their colonies, but their very existence. Only then will the galaxy understand our power." His plan was simple yet devastating. unleash a bioweapon capable of targeting human DNA. Developed in secret during the war, the weapon had never been deployed due to fears of collateral damage, but Trelk cared little for such concerns. If eradicating humanity meant harming other species, so be it. News of Trelk's scheme reached humanity through Maria Lopez's spy network. Her operatives intercepted encrypted transmissions detailing the weapon's development and deployment plans. When the information reached Ryan, he knew they couldn't afford to wait. "This changes everything," Ryan said during an emergency meeting. "If Trelk succeeds, it won't just be humanity that suffers, the entire galaxy will pay the price." Olivia studied the data, her brow furrowed. "We need to stop them before they launch. Once that weapon is in play, it'll be too late." Sam Dawson chimed in, his voice grim. "We don't have the resources to take on another full-scale battle. Not after everything we've been through." Ryan clenched his fists. "Then we'll have to get creative. Again." The crew devised a daring plan. Infiltrate the Crithian facility where the bioweapon was being developed and destroy it from within. It would require precision, stealth, and nerves of steel, but it was their only chance. Leading the mission was Elena Ruiz, whose expertise in communications made her perfect for navigating enemy systems. Accompanied by a small team of volunteers, she boarded a cloaked shuttle and slipped past Crithian patrols undetected. Their destination, a heavily guarded research station hidden deep within a nebula. As they approached, Elena briefed her team. "Once inside, we disable the security systems, plant explosives, and get out before anyone realizes we're there. Stick to the plan, and we'll make it out alive." The infiltration went smoothly, at first. Using stolen codes and forged credentials, the team gained access to the facility without raising suspicion. Inside, they moved quickly, disabling cameras and hacking into computer terminals. Elena uploaded a virus designed to scramble the Crithians' data, ensuring they wouldn't be able to recreate the weapon. But just as they prepared to leave, alarms blared throughout the compound. Guards flooded the corridors, weapons drawn. A traitor within Maria's network had betrayed them. "Go!" Elena shouted, tossing smoke grenades to obscure their retreat. Bullets whizzed past as the team sprinted toward the exit, dodging laser fire and leaping over fallen debris. Outside, their shuttle awaited, engines roaring to life as they climbed aboard. Moments later, the facility erupted in a fiery explosion, obliterating the bioweapon and everything inside. As the shuttle sped away, Elena allowed herself a brief moment of relief. They had done it. They had stopped Trelk's plan. Back on Earth, the UNG convened one final session to address the aftermath of the war. Diplomats praised humanity's courage and offered proposals for a new galactic alliance, one built on mutual respect and cooperation rather than fear and dominance. Humanity accepted the invitation, knowing that unity was the key to lasting peace. Captain Ryan Mitchell retired shortly after the war, choosing to live a quiet life with his family. But his legacy endured. Across the stars, whenever a seemingly invincible foe arose, people whispered the same phrase: "Send in the humans." And somewhere on a Reddit thread dedicated to HFY Stories, a user posted, "Why is humanity the galaxy's most fearsome combatant species? Because when everything seems lost, they remind us what it means to truly fight." The comment received thousands of upvotes, along with replies echoing the sentiment. Humanity had proven itself not just as survivors, but as warriors willing to stand against tyranny. And though challenges lay ahead, the galaxy now believed in its ability to overcome them, together.